So hello dear friends, we'll continue with the osteology of skull as we have studied all the normas, the outer surface of the skull. So today we have removed the skull cap, and after removing the skull cap, what you can see here is this is the interior of skull, and what is present inside the interior of this skull? Everybody knows that it is brain. So brain is present inside this skull, and brain is covered by 3 meninges. Okay, it is covered by 3 meninges. So for the convenience to study this interior of the skull, it is divided into 3 cranial fossas: anterior cranial fossa, middle cranial fossa and posterior cranial fossa. So you need to study this osteology of skull and mandible very thoroughly. So today we are going to just see the bony parts of this skull, and in next class we are going to cover the structures which are passing through this foramen, which is also they are asked in your vivas, and secondly they can asked in MCQs. They can be asked in MCQs. So at least this is the way you can cover this large topic in a very crispy form, in a very short form. Now we will continue with this interior of the skull. So in osteology we have done all the normas. That is, the normas are the study of outer part of the skull. Now today we are going to study the inner part of the skull. So for studying inner part of the skull, we have to remove skull cap from this skull. So we are removing this calvaria or skull cap. We have already done this skull cap in detail in the previous video, and now what you can see inside the skull, this is called as interior of skull. This is called as interior of skull. For the convenience to study this interior of skull, we have divided this interior part of the skull into 3 fossas: anterior cranial fossa, middle cranial fossa and posterior cranial fossa. And with the common sense, everybody knows what is present inside this skull. It is the brain, and along with brain there are meninges, and along with brain there are meninges. Okay. Now this is the border of, you can see here, this is the border of anterior cranial fossa. These are the borders of anterior cranial fossa. How these borders are formed? This is the orbital part of the frontal plate. Okay, this is the orbital part of the frontal plate. What you can see here is this elevated part. This is the frontal crest. ये देखो आपको ये उठा हुआ दिख रहा है. This is the frontal crest. ठीक है. Then this is crista galli. This is crista galli. And this, ये जो आपको छेद से दिख रहा है, this is cribriform plate. This is cribriform plate, and this cribriform plate, this is a part of ethmoid bone. तो हमने दो चीज़ें तो देख ली. This is orbital part of frontal bone. This is cribriform part of ethmoid bone. Now these two pointed structures, or you can see these lesser wings. These are the lesser wings, and this is anterior clinoid process. सेंटर में क्या रहता है? सेंटर में रहता है बॉडी ऑफ स्फेनॉइड बोन. सो दिस पोर्शन, ओके, दिस इज द बॉडी ऑफ स्फेनॉइड बोन. सो दिस लेसर विंग, this anterior clinoid process,